now again, you had Lost. How does Hollywood keep a secret? You have all these shows that everybody wants to know. Do they have goons running around in case you divulge the script? It's never happened that I know of.
Well, I mean, stuff has gotten out.
Yeah.
That's why they're as paranoid and as security conscious as they are. The scripts on Person of Interest, they all have a watermark on them with your name on it. And so if the script gets out, if it's in someone's hands and is recoverable, they'll know the source.
Yeah. You'll be a person of interest.
Yeah, and those policies are based on, they're the solution to a real problem, which is, I think, in the early going on certain shows, they used to be more liberal about, here's a copy for your agent, and here's a copy for your manager, and here's a copy for your publicist, and some of those people, pass it around the office or whatever, and next thing you know, it's online. So they worry about that stuff. Some shows more than others. I mean, Lost used to sort of live and die by cliffhangers and what's happening next. So we were under a lot of pressure, a lot of scrutiny, and there were journalists working very hard to get spoilers out of us in interviews, as you might imagine.
All right. The dirty cop on your show, I'm not sure what his name is. He looks like a dirty... What's that?
Detective Fusco.
He looks like there'd be a picture of him under dirty cop in the dictionary. What's he like in real life?
He's a sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
He's another actor who came late to the work. I think his first contact with show business was as... I think he was on the film commission of Boston before he ever was an actor, and I can't remember what the exact story is, but somebody said, hey, do you want to play this? Do you want to play this thing or something? He said, yeah.
Okay.
Next thing you know, it's his career.
Now you have Jim, because he has a great... I don't know, how do you pronounce his name?
Caviezel.
I mean, can this guy walk down the street without women throwing undergarments at him? He's such a good-looking guy.
I don't know. Yeah, he's easy on the eyes. He's the stone silent type, isn't he?
Yeah.
And that's a hard type to find for a role like Mr. Reed.
Uh-huh.
I can't think of any other guys that can do what Jim is doing, which is be that kind of a guy who shows nothing, and yet things are going on inside. And to be plausible as a weapons and combat expert. So we lucked out when we found him. There's a lot of guys can play leading men, and there's a lot of action heroes. This role, it required, I don't know, something in the gray zone, and he's right there.
Now you have you and I and the rest of us aren't quite in his league, but you have a sort of an intellectual sex symbol. You have that thing going at all with fans, and
I guess I have a following. I mean, people come up to me on the street and stuff. They like my work, and I think they like seeing the different things that I've done. It's gratifying because you worry when you go as quickly as I did from one successful series to another, which I never expected. Then suddenly you think, oh my God, I hope I waited long enough, and I hope this character is distinct enough from that other thing that they are familiar with. But everyone seems to feel like, oh, this is a completely different thing, and are happy to go in a new direction and on a different journey with me.
Is it difficult to switch gears when you go from that bad guy to the good guy, or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the goodness and badness is that's in the province of the writers, and I suppose the perception of the audience. That's kind of a contract between them. The actor just goes in and plays as true and as steady and as plausibly as he can every day. And you try not to, as the actor, make a decision about whether this particular line or this particular action is good or bad. It's just a question of, following your motives, trying to accomplish the things your character's trying to accomplish.
Okay. I mean, I didn't watch Lost. I want to start to watch it, but I kind of heard it didn't make sense at the end. How did you feel about how it ended? And, I guess there are all kinds of different theories. And
It was an extraordinarily difficult show to wrap up because of the way the storyline, the way the narrative spun out. You know, most shows, you could say that it has a narrative line. It's always moving forward kind of down one street. Lost was exploding in all directions. So how do you wrangle that at the end? How do you bring all that outward flying narrative projectiles, how do you bring them all together? And the way you do it, you bring it back to the center. Everything comes back to the start, sort of. And I thought they did a good job of that, and I was gratified by the ending, and also gratified by the fact that it wasn't, laid out on a plate for us. Just as the show had always been open to interpretation, so was the ending. I had to think about it. I probably thought about it as hard as any of the regular viewers did because we weren't privy to the thoughts of the creators. But in the end, I came to really like the ending. I was very comfortable with it, and I was happy that they chose that the tone of the ending was spiritual rather than technological or a piece of narrative trickery, a lens within a lens, or this was all purgatory, or something like that. All of the show contained all of those elements and then some. So I thought they honored what they had created and found an uplifting. I was very moved by the ending.
Okay. So now the Finch, obviously he's this guy who he fakes his death, right, to save the love of his life, sort of, right? Her life is in danger. He's almost like a bogey, Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca, where for the betterment of the world. Does your wife ever say, can you be a little more like that guy when you don't want to take the garbage out?
No, I think she's happy that I leave Finch at the studio when I come home at night.
Okay.
He's a smart guy and he is self-sacrificing, but I think she feels fairly certain that I'd make similar sacrifices on her behalf if we were in any of those highly dramatic and fictional circumstances.
Okay. You have this character, both Reese and Finch, who are so passionate about what they're doing, and you had guys like Mulder and all these other who are so passionate that they have no other life beyond that. So do you ever go into the writer's office and say, does he ever get horny?
Well, I rarely have played a character that had a sex life.
Right.
But I'm gratified that there has been a real life screen romance from Mr. Finch in this series. I'm not one of those guys that picks up the phone and calls the writers about anything. Really, I think they're experts at that thing they do, and I'm the expert at that thing I do, and we kind of communicate indirectly. I show them what I'm thinking by the way I perform the scenes, and then they take that in and respond to it in kind. They get ideas about how I tick or what my preferences are, or what things dramatically I can make happen, and then they steer the narrative in that direction, I think.
And I guess Jim, same thing, I guess. That's a little harder to... thinking about how you almost quit, do you sometimes just kick back and go, wow?
Yes, I often think, how did I end up here? It's so unlikely, and my path was so roundabout. I can't recommend a single step of my so-called career path that I would recommend to others, except to do what you love and not question it all the time, and to gravitate toward the best possible writing.
Okay. What's it like to shoot, and work in New York?
It's great. It's complicated. It's chaotic. We're out on the streets, and you can't control the streets. You can't control the traffic or the pedestrians, and there's a lot of characters and a lot of crowds. So it gets tricky, but very interesting sometimes. And some locations are breathtaking. To be on the tops of office buildings at night, or in neighborhoods that you not only have never been to but never even heard of, places with views of the rivers or the bays or the sound, and strange neighborhoods and old buildings that you never even heard of that have fabulous artwork or architectural detailing in it. It's always interesting.
Okay. as someone who watches television, me and you know, you can't wait for the next show. How about waiting for the next script? How much do you anticipate?
Well, we get our scripts late. I mean, I'm often shooting scenes that I received the day before.
But I mean,
maybe two.
But I mean, in terms of, I can't wait to see where this is going. You know, just like a fan.
Oh, the narrative. I don't think about it so much. I've been on shows where I thought more about that, but our show, it's not a given that every episode contains part of the Uber story or the mythology. You know, mostly we do standalone episodes, but I'm happy that we do have a kind of overarching storyline about the ownership and command of the machine and the various forces arraigned against us, and this new development of the machine seeming to be sentient in a way, to be capable of mobility, capable of shipping itself somewhere, and now capable of choosing its own friends. That's a great development, and I think that's largely what we'll pursue in season 3.
What about when you were on Lost? How about, anticipating the scripts there?
Well, we used to sit around. I mean, Lost was such a puzzle, that we used to sit around, and it had a much larger cast. So we used to sit around and try to figure out what the heck was going on, where it could possibly lead, and how are they going to wrap this thing up, those conversations. And we were on the show, and that was our daily work, and we could never figure. I don't think anyone in the acting company ever came close to predicting the finale.
Okay. Well, when's the season start for Person of Interest?
I think it starts on Tuesday night, September 24th.
All right.
We've moved.
Okay. 9 o'clock?
10 now.
10. Okay. All right. Very nice talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good talking to you too. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.